Stay tuned for episode 11 of the Air Hug Community Podcast. You're listening to the Air Hug Community Podcast. I'm your host, Judy Arizosa, and on this podcast, I bring you conversations and stories from guests and myself that inspire us to thrive on a higher level. We talk about things like relationships and habits for optimal health and how we see the world. Whether you are a mother or an other, the Air Hug community is here to help you realize that improving the lives of others will boomerang back to you exponentially. And remember, not to be too serious. Life is better with a daily dose of smiles and air hugs. What does a cowboy country coffee shop cookie company Let's do that again, okay? What does a cowboy country coffee shop cookie company owner, entrepreneur know about making people feel better? Well, stick around because you're about to find out. I am super excited to introduce our guest today, whose name is Rita, and I'm not going to tell you too much about her other than I have been following Rita on Instagram for a couple of years, and every single one of her posts has done something to inspire me or uplift me, and she always seems to know what I need to hear. And so I thought, I got to get this chick on here to talk to us. So Rita, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I own a coffee shop now. At 50, I got out of the hairstyling business. I owned my own salon, and we sold everything we had, and we moved from our small town in Woodward, Oklahoma, to Dallas, Texas. Skip forward a few months, I found myself at 50 enrolled in culinary school. Thought I was going to open a little French cafe that right down in a historic district of that area. Life had a different turn of events. We found ourselves back in our rural town. So opened a French cafe right in the middle of cowboy country. Now you have to understand that when I say cowboy country, I mean chicken fried steak, baked potato, mashed potatoes, and Coors Light. So I did that, and I hit the ground running, and it was such a blessing. And 10 years ago, or that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And a year ago, I felt the need to downsize. So now I am actually just a coffee company. I've added cookies. So now I say Cafe Parody and the Coffee Talk Cookie Company is what I do now. But mostly I'm about people. Now, before I get into community, I want to say that I am a grandmom to 8 grandkids. I have 3 children and 1 amazing husband. So they are my inspiration, my life, and everything that I do is inspired by them, because of them, and being a mentor to them, being a mentor and being a powerful woman, especially to I started to say especially to my granddaughters, but if my grandsons can learn from me, then I think they're going to even make more awesome young men and husbands when the time comes. So anyway, yes,
Absolutely.
That's my little shout out to my family. And now I am still in cowboy country, and I own a coffee shop, cookie company. And yeah, that is just a little fast forward snippet of where I am today.
That is interesting. So what inspired you to go from culinary school to where you are now? I mean, it was quite a little journey, and you ended up...
Well, okay. Help me understand where I am now. So fill that in so I can answer that correctly.
So from my perspective of where you, our
Yes.
perspective, so at Cafe Parody. So
Yeah. Always, I used to own a traditional bed and breakfast. Excuse me. And when I started entertaining guests, they'd say, we don't want to go out to dinner, cook for us. So I started entertaining in that way, serving them fancy little appetizers, wine and cheese bars, not only just cookies on their pillow at night, but 3 and 4 course dinners and breakfasts and brunches. And I knew that my journey and I knew my place in the world was about to change. And I didn't understand it until God woke me up, and separately on another night woke my husband up and said, you are about to embark on a journey into a new city. Now, I'm married to a cowboy rancher. So, for him to leave his cattle and his roots on the family ranch was a huge thing. So, but we did. And it was the most adventurous, the most amazing thing that we have ever done, the bravest thing we'd ever done, to move to a city that we didn't know anything about. We didn't know anybody there. But that's when one day I woke up and I just heard a voice say, now find a culinary school and go. And when my husband got home from work after we had moved to Dallas, and when he got home from work, I said, well, guess what? I start culinary school tomorrow because they had one place open and new classes are beginning. So here I go. So we thought we would do a cafe parody in the Dallas Fort Worth area. But like I said earlier, you just have to listen to your heart and watch the signs of where your journey alone is going. So we came back to the very same county that we were both born in. So anyway, but I love fancy food. I do love a great burger, but when I cook or when I have an option, I'm going to go the French way. And so I wanted to bring a little bit of that to our rural community. And I think I did that well until it was time to not do that. And I downsized, like I said, into just a coffee shop, comfortable. You are safe in my space. That's been my motto from the very beginning. It's so important to me that people know that even if they don't need coffee, they come in and they get encouragement. I'm their cheerleader. I've had anywhere from young women with addictions, just about thinking they're about to lose their mind, just dump it all on me. And I have the opportunity to encourage them, pray for them. From there to men that have just been served divorce papers, big guys like my husband, big macho cowboy guys come in crying like a baby, saying, I need to talk to somebody. And I knew you would listen. And I knew that if I told you, that wouldn't go any further. So, when your life takes a turn and you don't understand it, you just go with your gut. You go with what you feel, because I didn't have time. The cafe was so busy that I didn't have time to be there for the people like I am now. So when it all boils down to it, the money was great when it was a full service French cafe. Now it's a quiet little coffee shop on kind of a lonely little main street, but I'm there for a purpose, and I know that purpose.
it's amazing.
Is that too verbose? Judy,
No.
I'm sorry. Is that too verbose?
Do not apologize at all. I am totally in awe of the fact that you were able to listen to what the signs, what God was. I like to use the word God, whatever the universe, whatever people think. but you were so open to the idea of listening that you needed to do something else, you know. And I mean, there's a reason that you were sent to Dallas to go to that cooking school, and then there's a reason you were sent back, and then even more so to just be able to have the time to, in your business, to listen to people and, you know, improve the lives of others, which is my total motto. So I'm totally excited that we stumbled upon this conversation. It's like, how did you
Well,
know?
and the cool thing is, I was thinking about this earlier with you. It's like you're so about fitness, and I have a trainer, and um, I work out, but I don't push myself. I just stay in a where I know I'm healthy and fit, but I don't go the extra mile in that like you do. So your whole foundation is to show women about their physical body, because we know that that's exactly what makes us be able to run a race even better at 60 and over. But mine is, I want to stay healthy and fit, but I think that my platform is your soul. So we run parallel. It's just, we're body, soul, and spirit. So
Hmm.
you take care of the body and I take care of the soul, and I bring in a little bit of the spirit. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And actually, one of the things that I try to get across to the people that I work with is that it's not just, you know, calories and reps and sets. You know, when you wake up in the morning, it's important to be grateful and very much in alignment with what you're saying. And it's better to be a good listener than a good talker, you know.
Yeah, no, it is. And I had to learn that because I like to talk and I'm very opinionated. Hello, surprise. But I had to learn, and that's been part of my journey, to go from being a talker to listening, because where I was going, God knew that I needed to be a better listener and not an interrupter. So there you have it on that.
That is, oh, bingo, it. And, you know, I think that is certainly a learned trait, but it sounds to me like you were being primed for this all along in small little steps.
Absolutely. And so many people, of course, if I know you've read my stuff, but people think that their journey is like going to unfold overnight, and they're just going to wake up and then this is my calling, this is what I was born with and to do. But actually it starts when we're born, and it's baby steps all the way, and there's lessons to be learned, because it's like I think that I'm almost to the reason I was born. Like there were so many lessons I had to learn, like I said, with listening. How could I be a support system for the hurting and the broken if I always wanted to get my 2 cents in? So that was part of my journey, coming back here to a family that had a newborn that was just diagnosed. My granddaughter was diagnosed with neuroblastoma. She was just 17 months. We came back shortly, and shortly after that, she was diagnosed. And I learned a lesson after her illness and her passing. Then that is part of the journey. That was part of my daughter's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Going through almost bankruptcy on the family ranch, that was part of the journey. So it's not the poo that happens to us, it's what we do with it, which is totally an old cliche, I understand, but I can't find better words to use. That it's like it takes the whole thing to get us where we need to be for our calling. So all of the poo, all of the ups and downs, from losing my granddaughter to moving back to a small town that, Judy, I did not want to move to. I can be just so real and raw right here. It's like, I'm a city girl. My husband's a cowboy, and he would have stayed there if signs would have showed that we needed to stay there. But signs showed that I needed to change and get back to the county that we were born in. And all of that was part of our journey because Woodward, Oklahoma needed cafe. They needed a cafe parody. They needed somebody to listen to them. So we may not always be happy with what we're seeing in the journey right then, but if we'll be patient and understand that it's all baby steps, then the closer we get to the real deal of where we're meant to be, the happier we can become.
Do you think it's like the closer you get, the more your eyes are open to where you're going?
Oh, bingo. You said it so perfectly. It's like it's still a faith walk for me, but it was more of a faith walk, I think, uh in my younger years, because you just miss some stuff. You just think that your life is going to be a little cottage with a picket fence, and you live a leave it to beaver, father knows best life.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that that's not the way anybody lives their life if you've ever taken a chance and stepped out of the box and tried something. Not everything I've tried. I've invested in clothing stores that the main investor embezzled and closed down and ran off with the profits. You know, I've invested in different things that didn't work out, but I learned through the whole situation, and that's just part of the journey. And it made me a wiser businesswoman down the road. But sometimes it's the trial and error. It's not the perfection. Do you agree or
Oh,
no?
I totally agree that it's the little failures that, to me, it's like when you get a wound, or like for me, when you exercise hard and you get a little muscle tear and then it repairs, you're stronger in that spot,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
And I think
And
the failures do that for us.
right. And that's such a good analogy. I love that because I'm making a mental note in my brain to use that maybe in a blog, but
Go for it.
it's like, you get physical tears in your muscles because you're working hard, and because you have a goal. Because I know that you competed earlier in your life, and I'm sure that your body went through a lot of transition to get there. Well, our soul does too. Our soul goes through a transition. Our faith goes through a transition, and through those failures and those breakdowns, hey, we can either, I guess we're going to do two things, like all your sore muscles and the hard work. If you'd ever stopped and said, you know what, I'm done. This is too painful. I'm not going to compete. Or I could say, I didn't do so well in this business, this investment, so I'm not going to try it again. Well, then we can just back in a little dark corner and stay in our comfy zone. And like, that is no journey whatsoever, as far as I can tell.
It's like ignoring your purpose, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. It all circles around to how bad do you want your purpose?
Mm-hmm.
And your purpose is going to be painful sometimes. It's going to have, you're going to rejoice, but you're also going to have a lot of tears. But it helps you understand, without all the poo that I walked through all my 60 plus years of life, I could not have the empathy and the mercy and the grace for the people that come in and need me to listen.
It's
It's
like
just
you
that
said,
simple. Yeah,
your whole life had been preparing you for this current chapter.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I'd like to bring up, because you did an Instagram, what do we call it? Instagram TV, an Instagram
Yeah,
live TV.
yeah.
And I stopped my scroll and I'm like, oh, there's Rita. Let me see. And you talked about, and I think this is almost what we've just been talking about for the last few minutes, is you were born for such a time as this. And when you said that, I just stopped and I'm like, I just have to hear this. So you talk about knowing what your purpose is and how exciting it is.
Yes. And I think that's probably my whole platform when it's all boiled down, you know, and all the goodness is left in the bottom of the pot. It is that very thing that we each, and we, so many ignore that because it's like they think that your destiny is going to show up, like you're going to wake up one morning and um you just like you're there, but it is, again, I have to go back to, it's a learning process, and you can't have the purpose. There's no purpose without the pain and the mountains to climb. And you can't sit on the couch and eat popcorn and hot tamales and expect your journey to show up one day. It's hard work.
It's hard work. I
Because,
love
you know,
that
a lot
too.
of people think that it's like, well, if it's my calling, if, oh, this is one. Yes, I think you'll probably relate to this. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. No, no, not true. Takes work to get you there.
If it's meant to be, you're gonna have to work your butt off for it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more like it. Oh goodness. Um, I'm so interested and touched about how Cafe Parody is more, it is sharing food and beverage, but it's more about sharing time and lending an ear.
Yes, it is. The first tattoo I got on my wrist that started my story of a full sleeve tattoo was "Feed My Sheep." And you know, not everybody, I understand not everybody believes um spiritually like I do, but I, just to quote Jesus, he said, he told the disciples, "Go feed my sheep." And that had a double meaning for me, because I was getting ready to open the cafe and I would be feeding people. But I soon realized that soul food, spiritual food, you know, not the cuisine soul food, but food for the soul was every bit as much needed or more so than a good panini or French soup.
Amazing. You know, and that's so interesting. I think it's so overlooked. You know, even when, here's an example, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not dwelling on COVID, but we've all been through this. And one of the experiences that I took from it is, and there were so many wonderful things, time around the table with my family and things like that. But we would order takeout from some of our favorite places, and we were so happy to get it and eat it. And it was still very delicious, but I felt like the atmosphere was missing. You know,
Yes.
it was like we wanted to
Yes.
be back in our like what I call it, my Cheers. We have a couple of places that we go to that are like from that TV show Cheers, our Cheers, where
Yes.
everybody
And
knows our
you
name.
can compare Cheers, even though I'm not a bar, you can compare Cheers to what I do.
So you are the Cheers. Cafe Parody is Cheers for your little town.
Yes.
Yeah. So see, you really are still a city girl because you're probably, I'm guessing, like kind of in more in the town than in the country. I mean, as far
I'm
as
on Main Street. Even
that's
though
what
Main
I,
Street's little, I call it, I say that I finally made it to the urban, downtown urban life. And if you saw on Main Street, you would see the irony in that. But it's still my piece of urban because, you know, you just laugh and bloom and um, grow where you need to be at the time.
it's where you're supposed to be. Yeah. So cool. I just think it's so cool. So I probably have said that like 16 times, but you know, I think at this point in time, we are more of a touchless air hug community because I envision you like putting your arm around someone and sitting next to them and giving hugs and handing over tissues when needed. But now we're kind of doing that at a distance. Um, but do you feel like you still have that connection with people?
I ran behind a mask. I ran most of my things out to the curb for quite a while. Now I'm a one woman show. I don't have any help now that I'm just a small coffee shop. And we chatted. I had the opportunity to chat with people sitting in their cars, windows rolled down. They had masks on. I had masks on, and it makes my heart weep because I knew the situation some of the people were in, and I couldn't. Like you said, I couldn't hug them, and it it was cold per se, in our part of the world when this peaked, and yeah, I think that it um I I'm kind of a loss for words, and I apologize, but it was a terrible thing for my heart to experience, and theirs too, because they couldn't come in,
Yeah.
because a lot of times it wasn't the coffee people needed, it wasn't the latte, the espresso, or whatever. It was a safe place to unload, or to have a hug, or to have a total meltdown, or maybe even use a few choice cuss words or whatever, because there's no condemnation in my space. And I'm thinking that if my people in my community lack that, how much more in a big city? Like my son's in LA,
Mhm.
and he's a mixologist in downtown area, and that place just totally shut down. And so we were in our rural area, we're so much more above and blessed to still have at least a little connection there than what a lot of the other part of the US had.
Yeah,
But we're just now in the cafe, people are just finally coming back in and setting a spell.
I love that they can come back in and sit, but even through it all, you provided that whole necessary connection. Are we getting our echo? Are you okay?
Here, or is it
There, I think it's gone. It was a
okay?
momentary
uh,
echo. So,
Okay.
um, so a little bit before we got on, I asked you a question. I asked you, what are you most jazzed about these days? And you totally threw me off my chair with the answer. So let's hear it. What are you most jazzed about these days?
The cat is out of the bag, Judy. I am in the process of having a book published, and I am so more than excited, but I'm so emotional about it, because this is scarier than hell. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, I I have tried a lot of things in my life, and moving from rural to city was exciting. It was nerve-wracking, but I never had the fear that I am facing now to put my stuff out there, because I have a publisher. We're working on it. We're working on the book cover. Monday of this week, I had a photo shoot for the cover. I was a wreck and it's a very talented photographer, but I was a wreck because I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, I can literally have potential to be exposed from east to west, north to south, across the US. And it's a scary thing, but at the same time, I don't have any doubt in my mind that if I can continue to be brave and take the baby steps, that it is the big thing that I was born to do for such a time as this.
Can I just tell you the way that you show up so consistently on Instagram? This is going to be a piece of cake, and I feel like this is just you've been getting primed for this all along, based on what I've learned about you, over the last 2 years. And I just feel like, okay, this has been thrown in your lap because you're ready to do it. There's no way you're not.
Thank you, because thank you. That was a cheerleading moment for me, and I received that, because sometimes when you're the cheerleader, people think you just like have it all together and you're the brave one, but it's like, nah, not so much. We still go, cheerleaders still become afraid of the vision that's set before them, because it can be daunting, but we win if we don't give up. I don't know
Oh, I
where the
love
book
it.
is going to go. I have no clue how far it'll go, but I know that if I don't get out of the boat, and if I don't step outside of my cafe and go the next mile, I'll never know.
And you will have always wondered because you already have the question in your head.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that quote. We win if we don't give up. I wrote it down as fast as I could. But I think it's always nice to remember that we're all human, and even the cheerleaders need cheerleaders.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly.
So this has been, I think, such an eye-opener, and what a gift your town has from you to be, you have Cheers right in your town, but in a way, not that it's a sitcom, but the fact that you are a listener and a hand holder. And I think that we can all learn from that.
Yeah. Well, you just, my encouraging for you or anybody is like, it doesn't even matter if it makes sense, because a small coffee shop in rural America doesn't really make sense, but your mind, your soul, and your spirit prosper if you just do it. I mean, because it's not as much about the money as it is about people for me. So I appreciate your kind words, because like you said, cheerleaders need cheerleaders. And sometimes you feel like, you're like at a back football game, like you're the only cheerleader on the sidelines. And it's like, not going to lie about that one. It's like, okay, sometimes it can be real lonely, but then I go to Instagram and I see, and then you see you and several others, and I see, when I got the message from you, asking me to, if you could interview my story, I was just like, yes, there is a moment that I'm connecting with somebody completely, in a different time zone, and it's such a blessing. And it has like totally been fuel, like you have literally like been fuel for my soul for this interview.
Oh, that is so exciting. And just what a sweet way to put that. We connected,
Yeah, we
and
did.
I
We
think
did.
a lot more people need to connect with you. And that's why I wanted to have you on here. And so I really want to thank you for sharing so rawly everything, and what an interesting journey. And here's a little bit of trivia. I'll bet you didn't know that, but at one time I was a cosmetologist as well.
Really? Okay, so you know what that's like.
Yeah. Isn't
Yeah.
that funny? I don't tell too many people that because it was so long ago,
Yeah.
but it was fun.
Yeah.
So Rita, thank you so much. I cannot wait. Do we know the title of your book? Are we allowed to say?
Well, I'm just gonna say that it will, uh yeah, in some form or another, because this is in the, I'm listening to my publishers and stuff, but it's going to have the title, somewhere in it, or the words in the title, Coffee Talk, because I'm about coffee, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
about sharing my story, and I'm about hearing everybody else's story. So it's going to be worked around coffee talk.
All right.
And so, time will tell when I get this whole thing put together. Then I'm telling you, you're going to be one girlfriend. You're going to be one of the first to know.
Let me tell you, I'm going to buy a stack of those books and give them to everyone I know. So, I just had to ask you something. What was it? It flew right out of my head. But that's me. Things fly into my head and they fly out of my head.
I understand that.
Oh, here's what I wanted to ask. Where can people find you on Instagram and on social media? And where else can they find you?
Okay, Instagram is Rita, The Journey's Calling. And Facebook, it is The Journey's Calling / Rita Barney. And then I have a few, I've kind of put my blog posts on hold, even though my old ones are still there, until the book is complete. And then I'll have, like somebody else looking over that part. But my website is thejourneyscalling.com. So you can read little bits and pieces there that will lead you later to the book.
Okie dokie. And so people can get to know you there, and they're probably already going to feel like you're their cheerleader. So I will put all of that in the show notes so that people can find you and connect with you. Rita, thank you so much. This has been so insightful to me and very inspirational. And I certainly hope others see it this way as well.
Well, I appreciate you. I adore you and what you're doing. And hey, yeah, let's just stay hooked up, Judy.
Let's do it. Okay. If I ever get to Oklahoma, I've never been to Oklahoma, but if I ever get to Oklahoma, I'm finding your town.
Please do. I'll be waiting for you.
All righty. With a cup of coffee and a cookie.
It's on the house.
Oh, thank you. All righty.
All right. We'll check in later.
We will. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I would really appreciate it if you would hit subscribe and leave a review. It goes such a long way for keeping this podcast up and running. And how about one more favor? Grab a screenshot of this and share it on social media. And you can tag me and also use the hashtag AirHugCommunity. Check in every Tuesday for a new episode on the Air Hug Community.